So I was rewatching The Last Jedi last night for the 1800th time, and a couple of scenes jumped out at me, or rather, moments, the first of which being this one.
Something inside me has always been there, but now it's awake. And I'm afraid. I don't know what it is, or what to do with it, and I need help.
Is she afraid of the Force there? Is she afraid of what the Force can do through her? Is she afraid of what she can do with the Force? And that's reinforced with the second moment.
You have that look in your eyes from the forest. And you called me a monster.
You are a monster.
Yes, I am.
Now sure, this second moment is also a big character moment for Kylo. You know, his whole normalization of his behavior and his whole justification for killing his father is that he's taken on the identity of a monster. But there's something in the way he says, "Yes, I am." It's almost accusatory, almost as if, "Yes, I am. I admit that I'm a monster. Why haven't you admitted that you're a monster?" That's at least the gut feeling that I got the very first time I watched The Last Jedi. Ever since TFA, where there are a couple of moments clearly showing Rey, shall we say, not exactly adhering to a purely light path in the way that she fights. First of all, this moment here. No one can tell me otherwise or convince me otherwise that that was not the Force taking her hand and going, "No, over there." And then directly afterward, she is immediately gritting her teeth. There's the "Don't worry, I feel it too" from Kylo during the interrogation scene.
Don't be afraid. I feel it too.
Pretty much any time that Rey is in combat, she, which just might be Daisy Ridley's acting choice or the way the directors are choosing to have her portray her fighting expression, she's always got this very angry, primal look about her when she's fighting, gritted teeth, and she always has this very primal battle expression on her face, this war face almost, hyper-focused eyes, and there's even a subtle hint in The Last Jedi that, at least to me, represents that hidden lurking monster of the Force within Rey. Yeah, I know, it's a sea monster, and that's probably just Rian Johnson going, let's put a sea monster back there. It looks cool. But that's one of the beauties about Star Wars, which we'll get into in a different video, is that there's so much meat in Star Wars that you can kind of take whatever you want and put your own personal meaning to it. But again, that's for a separate video. I actually sort of liken it to the character arc for Paul Atreides. I've actually never had to see or say or hear that name before. I only ever read it. He's the main character in the Dune book, the first book of the Dune saga. Anyways, Paul Atreides, or Paul Muad'Dib, in a super oversimplified description, has a character arc kind of similar to Rey's in a lot of ways. Oversimplified, again, consists of Paul being sent off with his family at a relatively young age to take over rulership of the planet Arrakis, which is the only place where spice is harvested, and spice is vital to space travel, and it kind of creates these sort of mystics, but it can also drive them insane and all of that kind of crazy stuff. And through Game of Thronesiness, his family is killed, and he needs to run off into the desert of Arrakis, and ends up meeting up with the Freemen, who are sort of hyper-religious, nomadic culture of native people of Arrakis. And it turns out that Paul is very sensitive to spice, and he gains those mystical powers very, very easily. Pre-science is what they call it. And because of this, the Freemen consider him to become their Mahdi, or Messiah. And he has to struggle with this power over other people that he gains very, very quickly at a very young age. And there, at least to me, in my mind, there's a very fine line drawn in between the character of Muad'Dib and Rey. Rey sure has to deal with her own personal internal power. What can this force do that is inside of me? And Muad'Dib has to deal with his external force, the force that he has on other people. But at least to me, that's an incredibly compelling story of a young person who needs to find their purpose and figure out what to do with this power that they have. They are the chosen one. They are OP. They are perfect in a lot of ways. They are too powerful for their own good. And when that character learns that they're too powerful for their own good, it can lead them to very, very, very dark places. And at least to me, I think that The Last Jedi handles Rey's temptation of finding her sense of home, her sense of family, her sense of belonging in a very tactful way. She could have gone with Kylo on the supremacy. Instead, she chose to take her own path and choose her own family, instead of just taking the first person that offered it to her. What do you guys think of this? Again, as I said earlier, the wonderful, beautiful thing about Star Wars, and at least what I think is the key to Star Wars, is to fill it with as much meat as you can, as much meaning as you can, in order to allow each individual audience member, each individual reader, each individual listener to an audiobook the opportunity to fill in their own meaning. Like, I'm certain that that sea monster behind Rey, that's almost definitely Rian Johnson going, oh, what if we put a sea monster back there? But for me, that is a signifier of the deep, dark power that is within Rey, that's hiding right behind her, that she doesn't even really know is there, but she does know is there. It doesn't matter anyways. Either way, I'm just some goofy Star Wars fan. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments down below. Am I just seeing things, seeing shadows that where there are none? Or does this kind of give you a new perspective on Rey's character arc in The Last Jedi? Let me know in the comments down below. We'll have a conversation about it. Thank you guys as always for watching. And as always, may the Force be with you guys. Take care.